Hey, it's Mandy with 2 E's. You've come to the show Simply Rent It, which is also the name of my business. I'm your professional rental consultant who has a deep passion for helping landlord investors save time, gain knowledge, and reduce risk without having to spend a ton of money hiring a full-time property manager. On this show, you'll learn all the tips and tricks you need for your investment property journey. Today, I'm answering some questions you may have about lease renewals, such as should you offer incentives and what do you actually do when your lease expires? How do you communicate a lease renewal to your tenant and how far in advance? So let's get into the first question. What do you do when your lease comes up for renewal? Do you have your tenant sign another year lease or do you let it roll over into a month-to-month? If you live outside of Ames, this may make sense for you. Letting it roll over into a month-to-month lease. But if you live in Ames, it probably doesn't make a ton of sense and can be a little risky for you. And I say that because of the college schedule. So let's just tackle the elephant in the room, shall we? All of the property managers and landlords, not all, but most here in town, have their leases on a lease schedule that runs from the beginning of August to the end of July the following year. This has become a major pain point for a lot of landlords and tenants. I've spoken to many who are very frustrated with this process. And it's not like anybody is holding your hand and saying, you must do your lease on the same cycle as everyone else or else. So if you want to do your own thing and have your lease on a different cycle, you go for it because, I think there are plenty of opportunities that could happen because people do come to Ames in the middle of the year that need renting, students and professionals alike, families too. So I'll save that for another topic, but today I really just wanted to talk about what you should do when your lease expires and how to communicate with your tenant. I believe it's very important, even if you live in Ames and you decide that you want to have your lease run on a month-to-month schedule, that you communicate in writing with paper or an email. Have something in writing that says, hey, we've reached another year, your lease is going to continue monthly and it's going to be at this rate, X rate. That gives you an opportunity to increase the rent if you need to, because at the end of your lease you should be evaluating your income and if you've made a profit from your investment property or not, and if the finances are going to be okay for the following year. Say you need to take a look at your insurance premiums, which I mentioned in the last video I did a little video about insurance, and it's important to review your premiums every year because they can increase due to just the rise in economy and how many claims people have and on and on. But you can watch that video. It goes in depth more about how insurance works there. But if you have your property in a homeowners association, you should be paying attention to the yearly dues. And if they're increasing at all, you need to pay attention to the taxes. Those typically tend to increase from year to year also. And so you want to make sure that your monthly rent is covering all those expenses and you're still breaking even, worst case, breaking even. You don't want to be losing money or making money. It's very important that you're making money because this is your investment property. You need to pay attention to it. So communication plays a huge role in property management, and communicating and writing will only help you. So how far in advance should you be communicating with your tenant about a lease renewal? If you're following the August to July schedule, which we talked about a little earlier, you should be communicating your renewals now or even a little earlier. If you're not already thinking about August 2020, now's the time to do so. I've been watching the internet daily for properties that are coming up, and there are tons of properties that are coming up. There's room for everyone here in the market, but if you haven't heard, we're in an oversaturated market with all the building that's happened here in Ames with corporations coming in and putting up big buildings, and it hasn't stopped. It hasn't slowed down that I can tell, and so it's important to stay on top of the market and where the market rate is at for your property to be marketing correctly. And it's important to stay on top of your renewals and communicating with your tenants in advance if they're going to renew or not. So it'll give you enough time to find another tenant. So if you have a property outside of Ames, I would say in general, you want to communicate 30 days in advance, 60 days probably max, about your tenant's lease and what their plans are for the following year. Give them a week or two to respond. If you're only reaching out 30 days in advance, don't give them that long. Maybe just give them a couple days, but it's important to figure out what their plans are so that way you're not left with the vacant property. So the next question I want to get into is incentives and if you should offer incentives or not. Because I've been watching the internet daily for postings that are coming out, I've seen a lot of incentives pop up. And most of them are happening with companies. So if you're a single landlord owner who's doing everything on your own, or if you're with a property management company that's not a big corporation, it can seem a little overwhelming if you're paying attention to what's happening. I've seen incentives to get people to sign renewals, anywhere ranging from like $20 to $30 off your rent each month, which that can add up over a period of a year, and that might put you in a deficit if you're not paying attention. To gift cards, if you sign by X date, gift cards that can range from, $20 to $30 to $500, sometimes $1,000. It's insane what these companies are going to get people to sign. Even to obtain new tenants, they're offering incentives I've seen from $500 to $1,000 in gift cards, or they're offering trips like a spring break trip worth thousands of dollars. It's just absolutely insane to me, and I think it's a big distraction. So I'd like to go back real quick and talk about an experience I had at the rental fair where I surveyed around 50 students that came through, and I asked them what the most important thing was for them while they were searching for a place to rent. And the majority of the answers came back that they were worried about a place that was affordable. So I think all of these incentives are pretty big distractions for these big companies, and they can sometimes attract the wrong type of person, the wrong type of tenant for your property. So don't get caught up in all of the incentives that are happening. Take a look at your budget. Think about it realistically. You can offer a small incentive, and people are seriously grateful for the smallest things. So incentives can be things such as half off your first month's rent, or all of your first month's rent free. Some companies have even gone to the lengths of paying for their summer months, giving them summer months free, so June and July for free, and just to get them to sign. I don't know. I think it's really risky. I think you could be left with a vacant property. If you're not in an apartment complex, it's more risky for you because having a vacant property, things can happen that you're not aware of if you're not paying attention and visiting the property regularly. And you wouldn't be if you had somebody with a lease that was obligated to be there. So pay attention to what's happening. Look at your budget. You can offer small incentives such as like a $50 gift card if you want, or start small, work your way up, see what happens. Incentives do work. I mean, they do grab people's attention, and they can get your unit filled quicker than if you're not offering an incentive. If you're a single landlord owner and you're worried about incentives and keeping up with the companies, don't be. Let's talk about another thing incentives could be. Incentives could be things that are good for your property, that update your property and improve it for the future. They can be things such as offering your tenant a renewal that includes a Ring security system. If you are paying attention for Black Friday or Cyber Monday, you can get these things for almost half off, 75% off sometimes, just depends, but it can be a good investment for your property, not only to make your tenant feel safe and secure and that you care about their safety, but also good for your property. You can see what's happening if somebody decides to come over and break in one night, and you may even catch the culprit on tape. So not tape, on video. I don't know why I said tape. But another type of incentive could be updating your rooms that don't have ceiling fans. Ceiling fans can be a pain to clean, I know, but if you have an older home, ceiling fans can be a real perk. They can help keep the room cool. A lot of people like to sleep with fans on for the noise, so it can just be a real perk for your tenant. Another thing that could be an incentive that could improve your property If you need to do window updates, I would communicate, get bids, but communicate with your tenant that you're thinking about doing window update and that you want to make them aware of it and that it will help with their utility bills. Swing it in a way that's positive for them. And they'll be really thankful, especially if they're wanting to stay. I know I would be thankful if my landlord cared about my utility bills and how comfortable I was in the home. Another option for an incentive that could improve your property would be a kitchen update. There are a lot of places around town that are older that are being rented, which is fine, but a lot of them are doing updates, and it can be a great way to get an update in and keep your tenant happy too. So communicate with them, see if they'd be willing to put up with a little bit of construction work for updating it. Maybe they'll go on vacation in the summer sometime. You can get in there and do the work yourself, or you can hire some vendors to do it. And they'll be very thankful that they have an updated kitchen. Also, if you have a property with wood paneling, it can feel really outdated. And something simple as offering paint or letting them paint it and having their paint choice approved by you before they paint it and paying for the paint is something that could be an incentive as well. So think outside the box. I really encourage you to think outside the box for things that you could do for your tenants to keep them happy. Another thing is just to ask them, hey, I appreciate you as a tenant. I'm thinking about doing some updates to the property. If I could let you pick one or two, what do you think they would be? Or, what would you like to see happen in this property? And the fact that you're even asking them their opinion, they'll go through the roof. So give it a shot, give it a chance, communicate with your tenants. In short, I think that you need to communicate with your tenants when it comes to renewals. Pay attention to your income. Make sure your rental price is where the market is at. Offer incentives if you're in an oversaturated market, if you think you need to, or if you have the capability to. It's a great way to snag a tenant early to sign a lease. And communicate. It really comes down to communication in property management. So if you're someone who needs a little extra help with things such as marketing, showings, running applications, or surviving a city inspection, I'm your gal. I can help you get back precious time for things in life that truly matter. I want you to know you don't have to be alone with your next rental. I'm so excited to help you along your journey. And if you gain value from this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell because I post new videos every Friday. So I'll see you again next week. Until then, have a great day. Bye-bye.